everybody, and welcome to tonight's show. If the lighting looks a little bit odd, it's because I'm surrounded by boxes. Packing boxes, as a matter of fact. I have been for some time looking for an apartment and have gone through the ringer in terms of going everywhere. I had some amazing support from fans like yourselves to the locations where I was looking to move into. And as a matter of fact, one of the fans happened to find the apartment that I have now signed for and moved into. So yes, moving again. This time I'm staying in this country, however. Although there was a moment where there was a chance that I didn't actually stay in the United Kingdom, however. That has all come to pass, and now all is sorted, and so I will be moving in the next 20 days or so into the new apartment, which is going to be exciting because we're going to have new look and feel to the channel, new backgrounds, hopefully. One of the reasons why I'm moving to an apartment is because of that, so there we are. And yeah, it's going to be great, I think. So, on that front, as a matter of fact, this show is going to change time slots. We're going to move it to Saturday. So, it's still going to be the same time, just on a Saturday rather than on the Sunday. And there are a couple of reasons for that. It just, Saturday works out a lot better, I think, because that way you can ask questions before your Saturday night game or your Sunday game, as the case might be. So that's what we're going to be doing. I will give an announcement as to when that's going to happen. But there we go. That's what we're going to do. Alan Robinson, I hope that's a good thing. Lance Pickett, I hope that's a good thing for you as well. Oh, Lance, damn it. I forgot what I was going to do. I was going to try and say hello to you all in all of the languages that I speak, because Lance Pickett, if any of you don't know, every single stream he greets me in a different language, and I wanted to try and greet him in my languages. So I'll have to do it next time. Remind me to do it next time. So there we are. Glad to hear that, Honourable 596, it works for you. Dragon, glad you're happy for Saturday. Draco Vale, oh, you're not even talking about the Saturday one. You're talking about the Star Wars game. Absolutely. And yes, I think it's about time that we started releasing those. So this week is a little bit crazy for me in terms of production. So maybe not this week, maybe the week after. We will then definitely release that. So let's see. We've got some questions already starting to come through. Let's see. Watch2417 says, instead of this year, will you be at the Spiel event next year in Germany? Watcher2417, I would be immensely disappointed, touch wood, if I wasn't at Spiel next year. I was so looking forward to going this year. I really was. But I think next year is going to be even more exciting, as a matter of fact, just in terms of that sort of thing. So yeah, it's something to look out for, and I definitely will try to be there. Honourable 596 says, do you have some advice for using material from other franchises? The world I'm working on now takes from like 4 different fictional universes. There's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you know, it's I think we draw from everywhere. I think we really do. And if I look at my worlds, I don't know how many franchises I draw from. I mean, even today I was recording some podcasts for the Patreons, and it's a read-through of the book Nautical Campaigns. And just in that, there's one order that the ships can execute, which is called evasive. And that comes directly from Star Trek. What's that doing in Dungeons and Dragons? Well, it's allowing you to make your ship do what your ship should be doing, which is, you know, to have fun and that sort of thing. So I think that it's perfectly acceptable to draw from all different sources, make it fit, make it your own, and that can sometimes be a lot more of a creative enterprise than anything else. So I think that's definitely something to draw from. And I think when you look at all of the different sources that they are, if you are running a game that's political, go watch some political TV series. have a look at how those operate, and pull PCs across, pull NPCs across that are quite literally the same character from the series, just reskinned. You can certainly do that. If you're doing a superhero thing, you've got thousands of superheroes to choose from at the current moment in time. So I think it could be a lot of fun. I see that Ben Nicholson saying you combine Star Trek and Star Wars with a little bit of Stargate. Yes, I can see that happening. And I know that my Star Wars games can, if I'm not careful, become a little bit more like Star Trek games when there's lots of science going on rather than melodrama and operatic drama, I suppose you could say. I am watching for the bot, by the way. The moment the bot appears, it shall be sniped viciously. Because I don't think Laura Bones is in the chat just yet. So there we are. Draco Vale says, we can do that after our next session this Friday. Do you know I have to take the entire episode, put it into an editing program, edit it, make it clean, and then put it out again? That takes about 2 hours to do. So we'll release them as soon as we can. We really will. Okay, if you do have any questions, please put the word question in front of your question so it's nice and bold so I can see it straight away, and then I'll be able to answer that. Now, there was a question earlier on saying, will we be going through the submissions for the Great Library and for the Circle of World Builders in today's show? Yes, we will be. Definitely will be doing that. I don't think today's show is going to run as long as it normally does, which is an hour and a half. I think we're going to try and keep it down to an hour. It's been, I don't want to say it's been a heavy weekend, but I have worked this entire weekend trying to get ahead for the move, because when I move, usually there's a disruption of about a week to sort of settle in and stuff, and then content doesn't happen. So there is that. Jason Todd plus Crowbar says, sort of, are we doing the cow submissions? Well, we are doing submissions, just not the cow submissions. So we're doing the adventure submissions. We've got a few of those left to go through. So I can start on those whenever you guys are ready. I just don't want to cut away too much of your question time. Ibn Vapen says, how many prefab campaigns would you recommend a new GM run before they start working on their own? Well, I would say, to be absolutely honest with you, I don't know how many you need to run before working on your own. I'm trying to think of my own campaigns. We never even had access to the pre-made campaigns. We literally had the rule books. We didn't have settings or anything like that, and our GM made up his world because there was no choice, so I don't see why you need to run any at all. I would run a short one. I wouldn't plan on a gigantic one that's going to take you a year to play through. I would plan on running maybe a campaign that runs for 5 or 6 sessions. So if your sessions are 4 hours long, that's about 3 months worth of stuff, give or take. And concluded. So run a little one, and then you can expand out and run a slightly bigger one and a slightly bigger one. And if you are new to the channel, I would suggest that you head on over to the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/howtobeagreatgamemaster, one long giant word. And you'll see there the 5 steps and easy campaign creator and all that kind of stuff. You'll see all of those videos that I made on how to design campaigns that are fairly easy to run. And you can keep it a lot shorter by including less adventures. So go and have a look at that. I would certainly suggest that. Game Master's Vault has linked a GM and a panda hat. I do have a bear hat. It's probably in box number 5 or 10. There's a box called armor. There's a box called electronics, and there is a box called hats and wigs. Hats and wigs. And then there's several boxes called chainmail. Anyway, that's beside the point. No other questions. Okay, well, then I'm going to go straight into reviewing the submissions. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I asked a couple weeks ago for submissions for people who wanted to work with me in writing a series of adventures, which could be standalone once-off adventures or combined together to create a mini campaign. And people had to submit a sample of their writing, basically. So I have got those samples. I have been through them. I have already selected 2 writers to join my team, and they have been given their briefings for the first 2 missions or adventures that they will be writing. And it's been quite an interesting process so far. Mainly it's literally just been getting the contracts out of the way. And that's now been done, I think. And then me just, actually giving them the work to do, because they were all very enthusiastic. So there we are. So we're going to be going through some of those. They are anonymous. I have erased the names. And I'm just giving absolutely open and honest feedback on what I see from that. And so there you are. I see Watch2417 has a quick question. What do you think about NPC character generator? I don't mind an NPC character generator. I have done many tables which I use, which generate names for NPCs. But in terms of the actual NPC, usually I'm more interested in using or creating one that I need for a specific purpose. So if the players walk up to a random NPC, I will decide if that NPC should just give them information, in which case then I don't need to go through that whole process. Or I will just, give them a specific personality because I want them to have a specific function or a specific outcome. I will say, however, that this is my mobile phone, and we're going to be looking at a really cool program in the next couple months, which will generate portraits for your NPCs based on your phone. And that in itself will generate, I think, just by looking at the portrait, some ideas around the character. So we will come to that. New Kid 9 says, I'm a player in a game where other player has personal problem with me out of character. When the DM denied kicking me from the campaign, his in-character got rid of my character. What are my options? Your options are to go to the GM and the rest of the group and ask them whether the other person should leave or whether you should leave. If you can't resolve the out-of-game conflict with that other player, there are other tables out there for you to go and join where you will have fun and you won't have this negative vibe going on. There's nothing worse than having someone at the table whom you don't like or who doesn't like you. If you can't resolve it between the 2 of you, I would go to the GM and the rest of the players and say, look, can we run a second session where I play and they don't play, and then they can have a session where they play, so that they're running 2 games, or just find a different group. And if you need to find a different group, I'm going to send you the link now. rpgtablefinder.com. You will find someone who wants to run a group for you there. Trust me, you will. And I'm very sorry to hear that, because I have had some very good friends who hated each other at the gaming table, and that was tough. I've even had one of my partners joined one of the games with my regular crew, and after about 3 sessions, my regular crew came to me and said they just don't like him. He doesn't fit. In reflection, I still think they're wrong, but ultimately it wasn't conducive to a happy role-playing game. So there you are. Ben Nicholson says, are you taking part in summer camp? I am not taking part in summer camp. I wish I could, because it's such a wonderful writing exercise and creative exercise as well. But to be perfectly frank with you, I'm generating all kinds of material for the writers of the Great Library, as well as for the exclusive Patreon game that I will be running starting from the beginning of August. I've been generating lots and lots and lots of material for that. So, yeah, it's a good initiative. Summer camp from worldanvil.com. If you don't know who worldanvil.com is, go check them out. Literally, it's worldanvil.com. Xander the Green says, my players are getting ready to meet a rhyming satyr who, if they beat in his game of wit, will win a homebrew magic item. How many riddles would be a good number to give them? I would look and decide if your players like solving riddles, or if your players are not very good at solving riddles, but they do like a good challenge. I would turn the riddle solving into a social skill challenge combat. where quite literally the satyr has things like insight and perception and arcana and history and religion and intimidation and persuasion and performance. And I would use those skills in a skill challenge where the players have to roll and beat him. And literally the first person to score 10 successes versus the other, or 5 successes versus the other, is the one who wins. And if he scores 10 successes against them, they fail the 3 riddles or 4 riddles. It doesn't really matter. The idea is that they are fighting the creature in a mental lockdown, if you like. Mercury Lime says, would you recommend buying physical book or going down the digital route? For example, D&D Beyond, etc. for a new DM. Mercury Lime, I think the critical thing to understand is that I moved from South Africa to Japan not too long ago, 3 years ago now, almost 3 years ago. And I sold up pretty much everything except for my rule books. There is something, for me personally, about having a book in your hand. You can read it wherever you happen to be. And yes, I know you can read the DM's D&D Beyond on your phone and those kinds of things. But I don't know. I think sometimes I just open a book and it inspires me. I'm just looking. I've got books stacked up next to me here. I think it is what you find the most comforting. And I know that I sometimes will look at my bookshelf and go, I haven't played that system in a while. I want to play that system. I want to play that system. I know that certainly inspires me. Please remember to put the word question in front of your question before asking it. Otherwise, it just looks like chatter to me. Because as you can see, they're scrolling up quite quickly. I'm looking at both YouTube and at Twitch. So there you are. Dragon says, if in approximately 6 months I want to sponsor a video, who should I contact? Well, Dragon, what you do is, if you want to sponsor a video, you get hold of geekstable@gmail.com. geekstable@gmail.com, and then you ask for a sponsorship. We do get busy sometimes, so if you have a product or a Kickstarter that you want to launch, do not get hold of us the week before it launches. You're unlikely to be successful. And also, please note, we only show up stuff on the channel that we use ourselves or that we think are cool ourselves. There are many people who send us stuff saying, hey, we want you to do this thing. And I look at it and I go, I'm not interested because I wouldn't use it myself. And I don't see why anyone else would use it. So go away. And then they do. Anyway, so that's what it is. Okay. I don't see any other questions. So I'm going to jump into the first review of the series. First review of the night, let's put it that way. But before I do there, speaking of sponsorship and the like, I don't know if you guys have seen my latest video on how to introduce people to role-playing. I don't know if you saw this little creature. If you're like me, it's like it's weird, right? I mean, they sent this to me and they're like, would you please talk about it? And at first, I looked at it and it's squishy. Right, it's squishy, so you can squeeze it and grind it, right? And I looked at this and I was like, I don't know if they're fun or not. But he's been on my desk now for a couple of weeks since he arrived, and I have to say, it is pretty cool to be able to pick up something and you just kind of squeeze it and you're going, how do I solve this problem? How do I do this? How do I do that? So they're actually pretty cool. So we said, okay, fine. We'll talk about your product. We will talk about your product. Now, they've been on everyone else's channel, so they've really, really reached out in terms of their marketing. They come in different colors. They come in a box, right? So you order a box, and there's like 500 different colors. You can see the green one. He's actually keying out at the moment, but there's green ones, and there's obviously rare ones and stuff. But they're on Kickstarter at the moment. I will show you very, very briefly the Kickstarter, because there's a couple different shapes as well, so maybe you don't like the this one, but yes, so they've got mimics and gelatinous cubes, and they've reached their goal quite comfortably. They've kind of doubled it, so yeah, you can go and check them out. I'll share the link with you. So yeah, they're squeezy. It was good of them to use a child's hands on this video, by the way, so that it looks a little bit bigger than it is. I wouldn't say they're a bad size. They're probably totality the size of a tennis ball, a tennis ball kind. You can see they're coming in all different shades, and you can get different boxes. $12 gets you one. 33 gets you 3 of them, so that's quite a good deal. 55 gets you 5 of them. And the bonus stretch items, which is a cube and a mimic chest as well. So that's quite cool. That's quite cool. I'll share the link with you to go and pick up some of these. And like I said, I first went, it's a squishy thing. What do I care? And then you start squishing it and you go, actually, it's not terrible. It's not bad. And then you can actually throw these at your players. You can. You shouldn't. It might actually... No, you can. Just go for it. Just throw it at them. Okay. So the first guide, the first review, I should say, that I've got for you. Let me just share the link for that. I like it. It says Squishy Squid. I like the squishy. Absolutely. So there's the link. If you follow that, it will track that it came from Great GM, and that'll make people happy. So there we are. Right. The review. I see there are 3 questions though that I'm going to do very quickly. Gnome Depot says, what for you makes a memorable NPC? Also, please can you tell us one of your favorites? A memorable NPC is, for me, someone whom you did not intend to become a star or a central figure, but who does because the PCs and the players buy into that character. They literally just go, I love this character. I think this character is absolutely brilliant, and we want to spend time with that character. Because that means that they've found something in your portrayal as the GM that they like. And I think that's the highest form of praise, is when they want to go back to something that you created. It means that it's working. I think in my long list of NPCs that I have made over the many years, and I do reuse the ones that I like the most, I think the one that surprised me the most was, I see there already AK Writer saying Cookie. Ah oui, the little French cook. He was such a small cook on a little boat, and the only problem was everyone kept asking him for sandwiches in the space of a few moments, and how on earth was he supposed to make sandwiches for everybody when he did not have enough time, or let alone enough ingredients for the making of the sandwiches? No, just get out! Out! Yeah, I like Cookie. Cookie was fun. Cookie was fun. A lad was fun from there as well. A lad, the dumbest bodyguard there ever was. This giant, gentle giant. People liked a lad. His name was a lad because when the child was born, the doctor said, "Oh, look, a lad," and the father said, "All right." So yeah, there we are. Yeah, I mean it's things that make your players smile. So there you are. Watch 2417 says, how's the Web Goblin? Well, I am very pleased today to say that the Web Goblin and his wife both recovered from COVID without any major side effects. But then again, they were desperately... they had been taking immuno boosters and the like before they contracted it, and were very careful once they had it, self-isolated and did all that wonderful stuff. And so, yeah, they are absolutely fine. The Web Goblin is actually making rather exciting changes, I would say, to RPG Table Finder. There's all sorts of new features that he's been adding in his time off, I think, which is quite nice. I won't reveal too many of what those are. You can go and check those out. Okay, so on to the first submission. Now, this submission was a little bit strange because I couldn't open it and it didn't work very well. So I suspect it wasn't originally written in Word, or if it was converted. And anyway, here it is. I will open it up, and it is called... Oops, don't look at the name. Just don't look at the name. Ignore the name. I couldn't delete the name because I couldn't edit this. So it's called The Towering Inferno. And it's dedicated to Brett, which is absolutely awesome. Well done to Brett for allowing Alan to write this. Brilliant. And so it is very well laid out in terms of it's easy to follow through. There are some problems, though, that the author pointed out at the very beginning, the party needs to go through the tower to find all the clues. They need to escape from the burning tower. The scenario is the party end up in a burning tower of a wizard somehow. There is an apprentice who will give them a clue that maybe the apprentice set the tower on fire, but will mainly indicate that a witch set the tower on fire. That was all that they were given in terms of their briefing. So here the party starts in a burning tower. It's brilliant. There's a great little write-up. It's very, very well written in terms of literature, of how the party end up in the tower. There is a problem though in terms of they have to find the clues as they go down the length of the tower. And the author has said, well, they could just jump out the window. But then that just circumnavigates the clues. There isn't an example or a solution as to what would prevent them from jumping out of the window. So we need that. If you say, well, look, this is going to be a problem in the game, you need to then say why it's going to be a problem in the game or how you're going to fix that problem. So this one would be very, very simple. The players, if they jumped out of the windows, would spoil the entire plot. Therefore, the windows all have very heavy anti-magic bars on the windows to prevent anyone from being able to sneak into the tower. That might solve the problem very, very, very quickly. So they can't sort of blast their way out. So they have to go through the tower. So these are things that we need to think about. It's one thing to say, watch out, this is a problem. We're here to provide solutions, not to provide problems. Just some basic descriptions and things. I think there's imagery missing. Or not. I'm not sure. So this is how, this is a little bit of background information, which I really, really liked. This is a whole family saga going on. There is an interesting thing about the religion. This seems like it was set in real world because there's Catholics and Christians and all sorts of things going on in here and pagans. So that's not a problem if that's where your world setting is. It would be better if it was a prominent lawful good or neutral evil aligned religion. Keeping it generic allows GMs to include that in their campaign a lot easier than going, well, I don't have Catholics in my fantasy world, so I'm not sure what they should be aligned to, that sort of thing. But yes, it's very, very straightforward layout. Then this is the great opener, which I thought was really great. You have been pursuing an evil wizard, trying to stop him from conducting his twisted experiments on innocent life forms. The slippery wizard summoned a magical portal and escaped through it. You followed him without hesitation. You emerge from the portal to find yourselves in a large round room. Judging from the view out the windows that have anti-magic bars attached to them, you determine your location to be the top floor of a tall tower. And then everything goes, it just bursts into flames and there's all kinds of stuff. But note that it is already several paragraphs and it continues with several paragraphs where the author has then suggested what the players respond. When you ask him for clarification, he explains. The PCs might not ask for they might not ask for clarification. They might attack this person. But the way that it's been written is that they don't have any agency whilst this opening scene happens. He then opens the door to these really cool little creatures called bear owls. A barowl, which is basically an owl with the head of a bear. And they're carnivorous, a barowl. So this opening is really well written. The problem is that it's too well written. There's too much being decided here on behalf of the story and not enough plot. The plot is they arrive in the tower. That's where the descriptor stops. The rest is for the GM to determine, you've arrived in the tower. Okay, we look around. What do we see? Right, well, you see windows with anti-magic bars on them. You see this, you see that, you see the next thing. Smoke starts to come through. There's an apprentice who's standing there. He looks at you nervously. He sees the smoke. He screams, "The bitch, I told him to kill her and her sisters." And then he starts to open a cage. It's up to the players to now respond how that needs to happen. We're then given the clues in a very clear and straightforward way, although I did have a challenge. Later on, we'll come to that. There's the barrowls. You see the barrowls? They're so cute. They are cute barrowls. And so we have this very interesting isometric dungeon layout. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's quite cool. Lots of more text to be read aloud. And then the GM notes, this is another clue. So Excuse me. Again, we have this Christian, Catholic, and pagan challenge. From a fantasy perspective, the clue is a portrait of the family standing together wearing the different holy symbols. This becomes problematic. It would be a religion check to determine that the wizard's mother is a worshipper of a different deity, perhaps. Yep, still more maps, more clues and stuff. There is one clue that I came across which... yes, so in the library, one of the clues is that there's books that are open that look as if they are studying fire magic, fire spells and the like. The clue is that perhaps the apprentice wizard has been studying fire magic, but the apprentice was at the top of the tower with the PCs when the fire started down below. And because it's books, it's not like they spontaneously cast. So this was a bit of a challenge, I felt, to link the apprentice down to this. Just the idea that the apprentice was studying fire magic, well, he's an apprentice. He does need to study some stuff. It's a coincidence that fire started the whole thing. Anyway, I like the map getting filled with smoke. I thought that was really, really atmospheric, which was cool. Yeah, and it works its way through, and it's a very workable, very fun adventure, provided that the GM can step back and pull out what they need. Now, unfortunately, that's all I got for the monsters and NPCs. So I don't know what happened there, but what I did like was well done for crediting those who were responsible for putting this together. So what we take away from this, if you take away any one thing about this, is firstly that it's dedicated to a partner who is clearly supportive, and in this case my reason for doing everything I do, which is absolutely fantastic. You want to set your partner's house on fire and fill it with carnivorous owls. I'm not judging at all. No, I'm joking, of course. So yeah, I think the only takeaway is limit the amount of literature that you're giving, maximize the amount of opportunity for player agency, players to make their own choices and to go from there. So I definitely liked that one. I think the bot ran away because I haven't had to make it go quiet. All right, so there we go. I see DM Stretch says bars on the window. Mercury Lime says no windows. So Alan Robinson, you're absolutely right. I did not specify world setting. I'm literally just giving it to you as a it is what it is. Pirip01, I see you online. If you're the same one I'm thinking you are you still in Japan? In which case, what are you doing up so early? Oh, I'm just looking at the time in Japan. Yeah, early in the morning, 4:30 a.m. Anyway, nice to see you there. Beryl's Rock, I couldn't agree with you more. So that is super cool. Yeah, the layout got destroyed. It is what it is. So there you are. Oh, you've moved back to the States, have you? Okay, well, fantastic. Most married couples feel like setting carnivorous owls on one another from time to time. There you are. Right, so that was that one. Like I said, I thought it was really, really nicely put together. It was just, I think, a little bit optimistic in terms of the GM's interpretation of it. Have we done the Witch of the Diamond Sky? I'm not sure. Witch of the Diamond Sky. Oh, yes, we have, because the NPC was ridiculously powerful and scary. So that means we move on to this one, which came with a map, which my computer is saying no. Open the map. Open Sesame. No, now it's just circling. Okay. Lots of formatting issues, I think, happened in translation. I don't know why. The map is blank. Well, we didn't need the map anyway. All right, I've just closed that window. Foolish me. Okay, if you're wondering what this thing is, by the way, I've forgotten to switch my webcam off, and so now I'm on the webcam and you're seeing the bottom of the new camera. So that's why the picture looks weird, if you hadn't noticed it. So there's lots of pink in this one, and red. pink and red, and more red, and more red and pink. And then I gave up. And then there's some more red. And it's like, what is this? What is going on? However, did you see here? And you see, once again, there's this reference. Sound ceases to exist, broken a few seconds later by a rolling thunder erupting from a screech of biblical scale. In a fantasy world, biblical would mean nothing. Just by the by. I know it's pedantic, but we're looking for writers here, so that's where we are. Okay, yes, lots of interesting things here, and just tons and tons and tons and tons of cool stuff going on. Layout was fantastic. The layout was really, really good. The split page worked really well. The first major concern that I had with this one was the naming convention. And it often happens if you speak multiple languages that your names in your fantasy worlds become very, very difficult for those that don't speak multiple languages. So that does sometimes pop in, as I've highlighted here. COLBH P ampersand A RRAS or tilt. No, I don't even know what that A is. How do I pronounce that? Kolb? Paras? Paris? Paris? When we are including names in our books, and I was taught this by Game Master's Vault as well as several other people, when we're putting names into our adventures, we must make sure that they can be pronounceable almost as if they are phonetically read out aloud. So Geheb, Geheb. Ebba is fine. We know how to pronounce Ebba or Eba. Ebba, Eba, Ebba. Geheb, Geheb, Geheb's will. All right, so I know I'm being particularly picky here, but that is something that we need to be bear in mind. And I know that I have some names where I look at it and I go, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it sounds really cool when I do because I use a guttural sound when I'm making it. Klingon, for example, is a classic example. If you try and read Klingon, the written word Klingon, I mean, I know all of you have tried to read Shakespeare's Hamlet in the original Klingon. My copy's in one of these boxes. And I know that you've looked at that Klingon prose and you've wept when you have read the statement of Tach Ba, Tach Bech. I know that's brought a tear to your eye. But we have to keep that out of our own work because some people will go tag, bag, ag, bag. I'm not sure how you even pronounce it. Tach ba, tach bech. And the ech is very important. So my point is made. I will stop now. What was this one? Let me just remind myself. Breehurst, a population of 8,000. Oh yes, this was a really cool idea. This was the wizard who had industrialized magic item production. A large multi-storied structure near the edge of Breehurst's industrial sector, easily found by the thick plumes of black-green smoke that billow from its chimney stacks. The exterior wall is covered in thousands of small gargoyles carved from blackened stone, depicting as crawling over one another to reach the roof. There are no windows from which one can peer in or jump out of, only solid walls, a factory entrance and a public entrance. So this to me was needs to be read out aloud. This is a perfect, simple, straightforward description of, and I think it's very visual. Blackened stone, gargoyles crawling over each other towards the roof. It is Faust's, or not Faust, Dante's Inferno. And this reminds me of a what was his name? Blake painting. I thought this was really cool. Yeah, so the wizard basically processes magical items on an industrial scale and makes a fortune by selling them. What is interesting in this one was that there was actually multiple factions. There were more factions involved in this than at first I could keep track of. And then secondly, that was in the original brief. The brief was apprentice, witch, wizard. That's it. There was a whole different group of people involved who had a separate little plot thing going on. So that was really cool. I really like that. Then we got this name, Colby Paris. So that was a bit of a problem. I did like the setup, though, that they had developed a highly explosive chemical, which is the MacGuffin. It's the whole reason for this thing in the first place, which I think is really, really great. So there is that. Look at this name, Aurostilan. Anyway, I'm just going to stop now. Right. Yeah, so what has happened is industrialization is basically persecuting the home industries operator in the case of Ronja the Witch, who has made some threats against the wizard and his giant factory of magic item production. And so there's obviously immediate animosity there. The PCs arrive as the entire building is on fire, and hopefully they will go in it. They will follow the apprentice, who has got a double thing going on as well. I know it sounds very complicated, and actually it was a lot of fun to go through this. Yeah, so the ultimate effect, because it's so much here, I can't actually go through it. What I did like was they simplified fire, and round 1, suffer 2 damage for every 1 level spell slot that a player has. This is a particularly vicious thing, which is yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's at the center of the tower. You'll have to go through the tower to get there, and it's quite fun. A clear solution to stopping the fire should be presented. Go in, cap the fire. Okay, so this is my writing. As you can see, eloquent as all hell. So what happens is the PCs are aware of this giant fire. The skies above Briefhurst darkened by roiling charcoal smoke blocking out the afternoon sun. A firestorm rages within the city, streaks of burning ash spit down onto the buildings from above, feeding a raging inferno consuming the nearby building. The PCs are asked, please go in and help. The challenges, and they're asked by a whole bunch of people to go in and help in terms of driving the story along, and they're given a whole bunch of clues as well. It does say the players can ask around the campus to what happened whilst the fire is happening. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to run straight into the building. They're not going to. We could force feed them that information with the NPCs. Yes, absolutely. However, there was no clear solution. Go into the tower and stop the fire, and do it using this. Inside the library is a spell that will unleash 10,000 thunderclouds worth of rain onto the city and put the fire out. There's a giant plug in the bottom of the tower, which if you pull, it will release sewer water into the tower and put the fire out. I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter. But there was no indicator as to how they were going to put the fire out. It's just, go into the tower and we'll give you gold and you can loot stuff and just put the fire out. How? Well, that's brilliant, but how? So I felt that was missing. I think I made my point here, though, as to how important it is to tell them that there is a solution and this is what the solution is. There's a write-up about the characters, it was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it was, yeah, you as the GM would not be going, I don't have enough information. I really don't have enough information. You might have too much in this particular case. So there was that. There were the stats neatly laid out, so we knew exactly what was going on. And there's a reason, so there are lots of stats and that kind of fun stuff. The clues, there were some clues that were littered around. I highlighted this one in red because, again, for people who know how to solve clues, a door blown in or out makes a lot more sense if you are someone who thinks about that. If a door has been blown out of a tower, it means something inside the tower blew up, right? Or the door was pulled off of its hinges by something from outside. So we need to be very, very careful when we're giving those kinds of clues. The old trope of the glass to the window that led into the room, the glass was on the inside, so they broke in, or the glass was on the outside, so they broke out. Or they used putty on the glass, broke the glass, and then pulled it out and dropped it on the floor to put the... Anyway. We just need to be very clear when we are putting down clues that the clues make sense to those who are not necessarily inspired. I don't think there were any checks made either. So an investigate check. Give us an investigate check. You notice that the door has been blown outwards and that the hinges don't show signs of having ripped, rather than have been pushed out of the stone. This indicates the door was blown from outside or from inside, etc. Then there's a description of each of the rooms, which is straightforward. They're all very cool. It's exactly what you would expect. And this is the bottom line, folks. This is exactly what you would expect to find in this tower. And it's not disappointing because the big thing was, wait, they make magical components? Well, if the fantasy world uses components, someone's got to make them. The wizard goes to the wizard shop and buys them. Where does the wizard shop get them from? Here. So it's when I say it's exactly what you expect, you go in, you see the stuff that you expect to be there, and you have the encounters and things that you expect to be there as well, it's a good thing. We really want to do that. I do like the fact that there's an accounts room. It's like, well, these are accounts because it's a factory. So you would have exactly that. Then there's some ways of escaping from the entire situation. It not muddied because there's a few solutions that will play out. I like the fact that there are a few solutions. I'm not going to go through the different solutions. That wouldn't do any justice to the adventure. But there are a few solutions. The players can sacrifice themselves. We can find the wizard having been destroyed. We can find the witch having been destroyed. There are a whole bunch of options that can really work on that. And then the outcomes of the adventure, which was really, really, really great. Very, very simple, straight up. If so-and-so died, that's it. If this person died, that's it. Or if the ritual was interrupted. And then this is what they get. Here's some magical items. Here's some random magical items. Go and look on this table and look on that table. And if they level 1, roll on table A. And so I thought that was a really nice touch. That, to me, demonstrated a knowledge of the 5th edition rules, which is what I was looking for. And that's why, as a result, the author of this particular adventure is now part of the writing team. So well done to this author. Okay. So how are we doing for time? There we are. GM Brightside says, is this writing assignment the one where you had to be experienced in 5th edition? Sad Pathfinder noises. Yes, it was. And to be perfectly honest with you, GM Brightside, there's a very, very big reason for that. If I do anything that's related to Dungeons and Dragons, it will have between 3 and 5 times the response to anything else. And the only example I can give you of that is if you go to the YouTube channel right now, look at how many people have watched the Torg videos. But if I were to do the same type of video on Dungeons & Dragons, we would have 4 times the numbers of people watching it. It's just what everybody knows and what everyone expects. So it is what it is, I'm afraid. Pathfinder 1, I loved Pathfinder 1. I'd play Pathfinder 1 over 3.5 any day. I'd even play Pathfinder 1 over D&D 5th edition any day. But that is that. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Let's see. Where are we? Okay, so there's another question. All right, that's absolutely fine. You're saying, have I played any Lancer? I have the computer game. Remember, there was a computer game. So yeah. But it was Star Lancer or something like that. Anyway, I don't know. I haven't played the RPG system called Lancer. So, the Communist Mech TRPG. No, I have not. So. Look, Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, almost all role-playing systems. The story component is the same. How we put them together is the same. That's why I made the channel, is because people kind of go, oh, I'm a D&D player, I'm a Pathfinder player, I'm a Star Wars player, I'm a Lancer player. We all tell our stories in the same way. So there we go. I know, Sheena Tiger, you say I'd enjoy more non-D&D videos. Absolutely. But as I think you yourself pointed out, yeah, it's a business. It's my passion, and I thankfully can live off of it. But yeah, it is what it is. And for now, that's where we are. Is D&D 6 going to come out soon? Don't know. We'll find out. Lots of shake-up has happened in Dungeons & Dragons. And I was talking to my colleagues the other day about the whole shake-up that's happened. And for those of you that don't know, Dungeons & Dragons has always had a very shaky business model in terms of their origins. So when they first started with Gary Gygax, they didn't do very well. There was mismanagement. TSR was formed. TSR ran for a while, produced some second edition books, had a wobble, had another wobble, and then Wizards of the Coast bought them out. lot of success from Wizards of the Coast, but Wizards of the Coast not only produces Dungeons and Dragons, they produce a whole bunch of other games as well, including Magic the Gathering. And Wizards of the Coast was bought out quite a while ago by Hasbro, the giant toy manufacturer. And so, yeah, Hasbro is a giant mega corporation that owns lots and lots of companies. And yeah, even in recent times, Wizards of the Coast seemed to be allowed to be autonomous and to continue doing what it was that they were doing. Hasbro recently stepped in, however, and I say recently, but this is about 6 months ago, where they now started to centralize everything. And what that means is that you've now got Hasbro corporates and executives going, this product line needs to do this, or this product line needs to do that. We need these numbers to be achieved by X. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that suddenly there's a giant marketing team and there's multiple campaigns running in all different directions, marketing campaigns, to promote and prove the product to have value. It does, however, sometimes mean that there is also a corporate mentality to production as a kind of, this is now the cookie cutter model that we all have to use. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think that there's any risk, but what we were actually talking about, that was a complete tangent. I apologize. That was boring. The question was, if Dungeons and Dragons, let's say next week, Hasbro goes, nah, you're not making any money, we're closing down the line. I mean, they were not going to say that, but if they did, it would be absolutely catastrophic to role-playing, I think. All of the other producers, Pathfinder, Ulysses Spiel, I always forget the guys in Norway who are doing all the cool things. They did Tales from the Loop, they did Alien RPG. Them. You know, everybody else would jump. Free League, thank you, Perp. Free League. They would jump on board and they would try and do some kind, they'd try and fill that gap. Pathfinder might be able to do it. But they don't necessarily have a big marketing spend and are notoriously bad for working with social media influencers. And I can say this because we've been trying to work together for a very long time, but they don't have a focused marketing approach, whereas Dungeons and Dragons does. So all of this corporate stuff, you're going, well, how is this going to affect us as the community? Yes, for a while, the community will continue to thrive and there'll be a giant gap. So you're going to have lots of players either sticking with 5th edition or they're going to try something else, right? Because they want something new, which is absolutely fine. But then are we going to go backwards, where we go back to how it used to be, where role-playing was done in the basement and forgotten about and was a geeky thing? Or do we continue to stay in the mainstream where we are at the moment? It's an interesting question. That's all I'm saying. It's an interesting question. And these sort of things, we look at it. And I mean, Dungeons & Dragons has survived huge amounts of paranoia. I remember my books being taken away. Well, no, they weren't my books. They were my DM's books. His books were confiscated when we were in high school. And our parents got called in and we had to have the counselor there and they tried to prove that we were Satanists. I'll never forget the day my mother got handed a checklist. Is your son a Satanist? And I think there were 20 things on that list, and I think I could check off about 18 of them, or 17 of them. And I went, well, I can tick those off. There are 3 that I can't tick off, and unfortunately, I personally believe that one of them is absolutely vital to being a Satanist. And the counsellor and the headmaster and my mother went, well, what is it? So I said, well, believing in that particular religion, because you can't actually be a Satanist if you don't believe in the whole Christian religion, right? It's a bit tricky to worship something that you don't believe in. So it was silly. On the list were things like skeletons. Do you have skeletons in your room? I have a T-Rex skeleton. I have skulls of various animals. At that stage, I was a 15-year-old, so I had skeletons all over the place. that I was building. I was fascinated by skeletons. I have skulls. I have skulls everywhere. And I have a skull box for my dice. So there were things like that. There were maps. Do you have maps all over the place? Do you have diagrams of devils and how to cast spells? Well, kind of what the PHP is all about, right? Yeah, I have a skull in my face even. Absolutely. I've got mine's very well hidden, but definitely. So, yeah, I mean, it's the list is obviously compiled by people who were going on some horrific things that had happened in the 80s and had carried through into the 90s and that sort of thing. So, and then they'd put together these lists so that they could try and prove these things. And for me, I think one of the biggest things that happened was my headmaster, a wonderful man who hated sport and believed in science and literature, which for a South African headmaster was very, very rare. And he took the books. He said, right, okay, look, everybody knows that Guy, I am not a religious person at all. In actual fact, he's fairly militant about his situation. I was at the time. So I don't think he's a Satanist, but I want to know if these books are good or bad. And he took them and he read them over the weekend. And he came back on Monday of the school day and he said, right, I want you to actually start a club because I think these books are brilliant. They teach you problem solving, education, history, social interaction, communication, teamwork, etc., 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 etc. So for me, that was a case of, okay, here's a rational human being who's read what the books are about and who can see that it makes sense and that it isn't this space for cultists and things to go. Yeah, look, I mean, obviously it's easy to say, oh, well, it came out of a few people who were on drugs and who took it too far. But I have seen a lot of people who take role-playing a little bit too far. And you go, well, is it role-playing? Is it not role-playing? Also, it was the 90s. So there wasn't internet. There was newspaper clippings and 60 Minutes on television showing us all these evil things. And I think people will still believe anything that you tell them these days. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely cooled down. I think it's still very, very prevalent. In some areas, I think people don't understand it. I think it scares some people. I think when you look at the iconography, right? I mean, we say this is kawaii or cute or whatever, right? But some people go, no, it's a weird tentacle sort of thing. What the hell is this thing? It's evil. Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. It is what it is. Now, Perip, yes. I still get shut out of that for my pronunciation of kawaii. Japanese is the weirdest thing, right? So, kawaii means cute. Kawaii. Kawaii means scary. It's like, come on, for heaven's sakes, that's just... I know, English is worse, but when you're trying to learn Japanese, it's difficult. All right. How are we doing for time? I think I'm gonna call it, actually, folks. I think I'm gonna call it. We've gone through 2. That means we've still got a couple left to go through. If I have a look at it, I must admit this has been a very different show to how it normally is. So if this is your first show, then definitely this is not the normal one. Normally we do lots of questions and that sort of thing. So yeah, we've got 4 left to go through of those reviews. So I think 2 at a time is quite fun. Try to learn German. I speak a little German, and I really wish I could learn more German. I think German is one of those languages where it can be incredibly comforting and calming, I think. But it can also be incredibly harsh. Did something die on your head? What happened to my hair? I normally wet the hair and slick it back, but I forgot to do that. And this was my own haircut. I have my own clippers and stuff. So if I do it wrong, it looks like I'm wearing a bad toupee, which is awful because I'm not. I swear it's my own hair. And this is why I usually slick it down, because it does just go crazy. So it is what it is. Okay, where are we? What have I lost here? On what happened to your head? Something died on your head. Yep. Wie geht es dir? I don't know how to respond saying I am fine here. Thank you very much. It is not raining in Tokyo. Jiminy says, answer Thanos' question. I don't know what Thanos' question is. Thanos, did he ask a question? Ask a question again, please. Make it pop up again. I have to go looking for it, and I don't. I don't know where it is. Let me scroll. Let me go looking for it. How do you ensure players minimize metagaming? Well, if it's obvious metagaming, I literally say, you don't know that. Your character wasn't there. Just interrupt them. Your character does not know that. You were not there. You cannot say that. Or if the person is trying to solve something and everybody else knows, and that someone else is going, you're not there. Go make coffee for everyone. Go get pizza for everyone. That's your punishment. On the other hand, you can also use metagaming as a powerful tool. So someone is saying, I did a video on metagaming. I did 2. Why is metagaming bad and why is metagaming good? Those are both on the YouTube channel, so go and check those out. Because it goes into a lot more of that. So have a look at that. Right, so that was that one. Let's see. No other questions. I think that's what we're going to do for tonight. It has been absolutely awesome being with all of you. Again, we've reached 100. That's unusual. We don't normally get to 100 so quickly. But I thank you guys for your questions and for coming in, and I thank everyone for submitting for the Great Library and for the Circle of World Builders. And if you are a Patreon of the channel, and that's patreon.com/Great Game Master, you can submit your own work as well, and we will work through that backlog in time. Like I said, we will be moving the show to Saturdays at 8 p.m. 7 p.m. GMT. So Saturdays at 7 p.m. GMT. I'm not sure exactly when that's going to happen, but it will be coming in probably in the next 2 weeks or so, if there isn't a small break as well as I move from one to the next. So there we are. And yeah, I think if you are new to the channel, if you are on Twitch, for example, I would suggest that a lot of the questions that are now coming through, you can actually find on how to be a great game master. Sorry, I'm typing it in manually. You can find that on the YouTube channel, How to Be a Great Game Master. And yeah, until next week, however, or until my one-on-one game, then on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. GMT, my one-on-one where I run the game for an hour and a half, and then I spend half an hour discussing what I had planned or not planned to do in the session. So you can join me for that. We are fighting giant zombie-ver monster creation thingies. Anyway, until then, I wish you and yours the very happiest of gaming.